You are now listening to Flash Fiction Volume 6, Transcend, by Lucian. Narrated by Victoria Marie.
The Kiss by Kat Miller. Read by Victoria Marie. Harlan leans over to plant a kiss on my cheek. His fingers wriggle beneath mine so that our palms rest together, our fingers interlocking. It would be so easy to kiss him. Too easy. I lean back in my seat and pretend to be focused on the movie, letting the bright light of the fictional Sonic Man world drown out the dark reality of the theater, and Harlan's mouth. The first kiss is special. That's what my friends tell me. My first kiss tasted like burned butter and browned lettuce and the vast airless blackness between stars. The problem with being slightly psychic is that you're never sure, until afterwards, that you have been. It's just a feeling. And then 17 months later, you find out that he's stealing from you and that he's empty and sour and nothing in the world will ever fill him up. You think, but I already knew that. Even though it's stupid to break up with someone because of something you felt in a kiss, you feel like a moron for knowing and not having done anything. After planting a soft, dry kiss on my cheek, Harlan sits back. I clutch his hand so that he won't take it away from me, and he shoots me a small smile that I see only out of the corner of my eye. I can feel my palm getting sweaty against Harlan's. I haven't kissed him yet because I don't want to know. I don't want to feel the thing that will come between us. Not now. Not when things are still so simple. I lean over to rest my cheek on his shoulder, and after a moment I feel a slight pressure on the top of my head from where he's leaning back. I close my eyes and listen to the rhythm of his breathing. We haven't kissed yet, even though we've been dating for months. But already I'm tired just thinking about how I will pull myself back together when this is done, when we're over. I open my eyes and the movie is suddenly too bright and too loud. I sit up and shift away from Harlan, who tightens his grip on my hand for a moment before letting it go. For the rest of the movie, I sit on my hands and try to pretend I'm actually Sonic Man, beating the tar out of some alien baddies. Unfortunately, I can't remember what the aliens have done to deserve it. When it's finally over and the credits are rolling, Harlan asks, "What did you think?" He's always asking what I think, which is great, except tonight. I don't want to answer. Can't really answer. It was loud, I tell him, reaching for my scarf. He grabs my hand again. "Stay," he says. My heart flutters until he adds, "There's supposed to be an Easter egg at the end." I fall back into my chair and cross my arms. "We don't have to," he whispers. When I look across at him, he looks hopeful. He'll follow me if I go. "I want to stay," I say. The second boy I ever kissed, like I meant it. That kiss was salt water. It became a whole huge sea knocking at the walls of him. We broke up 3 weeks later because, as he said, I wanted too much. In the end, there's a 45-second film clip that can most generously be described as a trailer for Sonic Man 4. "Lame," whispers Harlan. I pretend to gag. As we wander through the lobby to the exit, through lights that seem too harsh and white after all that cozy blackness, we walk close enough together that our hands brush, although we're not technically touching. I want to grab him, but I'm paralyzed. Out in the street, we wander between the bright puddles formed by street lamps. I can smell burgers at some local diner, and fresh, sticky buns. "Hungry?" I ask. "Are you?" I shake my head. I grope for his hand until I find it, and he squeezes it tight. "What did you think of the movie?" I ask belatedly. "It was loud," he said, and then laughs. "And dumb, but also fun." "Remind you of anyone?" I ask. He pouts. Seeing him like that, I can't help but stop in my tracks and pull him back to me. We sway together, and I hear his sudden intake of breath. "Can I kiss you?" I ask. "You don't have to." "I want to." He pauses. "I want you to." Very slowly, I lift myself up on my toes so that I can reach him. He doesn't move, just closes his eyes and waits, giving me every chance to change my mind. Knowing that I'm afraid of this, even if he will never know why. But I don't change my mind. When our lips finally meet, his mouth is warm and sweet beneath mine, and all I know is that I like the feeling. I kiss him a little deeper, searching for something that I do not find. It's just a kiss with no hint of endings in it. When I finally rock back onto my heels, Harlan grins at me. "Wow," he says. "That was surprising." He looks happy, the way you should look when you kiss someone you like after months of anticipation. But I have to slide my tongue between my teeth and bite down to keep from crying. I didn't learn anything. I don't know what will go wrong this time. "Again?" he asks, but softly, as if he's afraid I'll say no. Which I don't. But this kiss, like the first, only tastes like my own affections for him and my own fears. I still don't know how my heart will break this time around, or even if it will. Good Night, Sweetheart, by Megan E. Hunt. There it is again, the rustling sound, like something moving around, fabric catching on fabric. I've heard it twice this week, the sound that reminds me of putting on a jacket or getting comfortable under the covers. It comes and goes, and I'm never quite sure that it's actually there, that I'm actually hearing it. There! Right there! Did you hear it? Closer this time, more distinct. A shifting, a settling of limbs quietly against softness. The dog is downstairs, asleep in her bed. She couldn't fit in the nooks and crannies where the shadows linger in the evening anyway. She's too big, too lumbering to make the gentle rustles I hear. Wait! There! Again! Very slowly, so as not to alert whatever it is to my presence, I climb out of my bed. My feet hit the carpet, familiar to the bare skin. It's the same carpet I step out onto every morning, the same carpet I leave behind at night. Nothing about this moment is out of the ordinary, except for the noise coming from under my bed, which ceases the moment I leave it. I pause, remind myself to breathe. I fleetingly consider calling someone, but without proof, without evidence, they might think me crazy. The overactive imagination of a woman living alone. I'm sure they've seen it a million times before. The rustling begins again and my heart stops a beat. 2, 3, in my chest. The adrenaline pushes me to the floor, makes me turn my head to seek out the thing beneath my bed. A woman? A woman wearing my night clothes? A woman wearing my night clothes and resting under my bed? For a brief moment, I want to laugh at the absurdity of it, but the humor disappears as soon as she stops shifting, as soon as she realizes that I'm here. She knows she's being watched, and slowly, so very slowly, she turns her head towards me. That face is my face. Those eyes are my eyes. The woman beneath my bed is me. Shh, she says, the sound violent in the quiet stillness of my room. Her eyes, my eyes, are wide with terror. I feel the cold chill of fear climb along my spine as she stares at me. I think there's someone in my bed. She Smiled, by David Wing. Narrated by Victoria Marie. She clattered him in the mush with the frying pan and carried on until the son of a bitch fell onto the lino. He twitched, but a clunk or two more should put a stop to that. She collapsed into one of the kitchenette chairs, staring at his body, lying there, not talking, not whining, not yelling, not screaming, not hitting. She grudgingly began to cry. He'd been some kind of bastard, the kind a girl could fall in love with. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and fit snugly into his Wranglers. He carried himself with a brash confidence that caused the other girls to swoon, but not her. She saw the bastard in him, but still she said yes. He'd approached her in the pub when she was all of 17, too young to be there and too young for him, but he didn't care. He had a job and a car and could be charming when he wanted. Her father accepted him, but her mother took her aside. Jeannie, that's the kind that causes trouble. She didn't care. It didn't matter. They had a church service. Her dad cashed in his savings bonds, and her mom bought a new hat with a pink ribbon from Marks and Sparks. He was late. The priest said the words, For better, for worse, till death do you part. They danced at the working men's club at the end of the lane, or rather, she did. He was either too drunk or busy in the coat check for some reason. She'd stay up late and reheat his dinner when he came in smelling of perfume and whiskey. She'd tuck him in when he passed out on the sofa. She'd have the breakfast ready when he woke and was always careful to whisper, for the sake of his head. In the mornings, she'd wake early, have a cold shower so as not to waste the hot water, dress as prettily as she could and put on her lippy. She'd wear high heels, even though they hurt her toes, and pack him a lunch, but she knew he'd throw it out and go to the pub instead. She'd hear the talk around the village. She never goes out with him. I'd never be off his arm. He deserves better. She would hoover the floors, polish the table, scrub the cooker, and empty the cigarette stubs from her hanging baskets. The house would gleam, but he'd complain. He'd complain about the size of the house, but she couldn't change that. He'd complain about the food, but it was the best they could afford. He'd complain about her clothes, her hair, her tights, and her fingernails. He'd complain until he ran out of breath and had to use his fists. It wasn't his fault. It was her fault she was a disappointment to him. She wasn't woman enough for him. She was a girl, and girls made too many mistakes. It was for the best. He wasn't happy. She smiled.
For more flash fiction, visit www.elijahlucian.ca/flashfiction.